And I would like to tell you about the project I've been making since last 2 years, and it's about redesigning the clinician experience in Polish healthcare. My name is Piotrek. I'm coming to you from Krakow in Poland. I'm working in a Edisonda studio. We are a design company. We are designing stuff like from e-commerces to intranets, and recently also like things like more like bigger things like systems, like this hospital information system I've been talking about. We are about the size about 50 people, so it makes us the biggest design studio in Poland. So we have cooperated with some companies that you probably are familiar with. After hours of working in Edisonda, I'm lecturing at HGH University. I'm teaching their students about designing interfaces, interactions, and so on. And even after working on university, I'm co-founder of like collective urban watch. I think it will be translated to English like working force, working group, something like this. And one of our key aims and goals is to educate people, talk about philosophy, design, also technology, and how to combine all those topics. And at the very last Sunday, we finished our annual conference, which is called the Prawa Robocza. It will be like working expedition, something like this. And this is a photo of our Oscar for the sixth time. No, I don't know if we are doing the photo together, but I like photos. It's remembering things, and it's always fun to what's happened. It brings up the memories. I'm here. So let's jump to the story. And this is a story about designing the software for hospitals almost from the scratch, because we started the project thinking that maybe the updating of UI itself will be enough to redesign this clinician experience, but it quickly occurred that it's not enough, because you will see later how this software looked like. I would like also to tell you something about tools that I've used during this project, especially about the tools that were not useful. And it will be surprising because I were using them in other projects and they were useful back then, but in this case they were not fitting into the problem solving in this case. Also, it will be a story about designing the system, and for me it's the biggest project I've done in Edisonda for 8 years of my career, so it's a big challenge for me, even for now, after being in this project for 2 years straight. And I would like to end this story with lessons that I've learned as a designer, but also as a human person, that, feel some stress and burden connected with the health and, maybe helping people or not harming other people by designing the interface. And ultimately, it will be a story and looking for answer for a question: can a hospital interface can be cured? So let's jump into it, and we will see if that is even possible. So about the project, I want to give you a little bit of the context, what's going on, how it started. So the project that we are designing is made with collaboration with the software house that already has 2 hospital information systems. And the software that we are creating right now will be their 3rd one. So their customer base, user base is a pretty large one, because they have 24,000 medical staff users in 45 hospitals and 20 clinics. So that's a lot of heavy users, specialized users. There are no users like from the street. There are no regular users in this code, because the system is not aimed for them at all. The first version of this interface was created 20 years ago and doesn't change since then. The new functionalities were added, but the interface and underlying design principles remained completely the same. We started this project 2 years ago, as I mentioned before. It was starting from trial of redesigning UI itself. But after like 1 or 2 months of working, like maybe trying to get along with the software house, we get to know that it's not enough. It's not enough, and if we want to redesign the clinician experience, we need to start from the scratch. And we managed to convince them to do that. And from the beginning of the 2022, we started redesigning the interface and the whole system from the scratch. So if you will think about 20-year interface, what is the piece of software that comes to your mind? Windows XP, right. It was that long ago. And now I'm gonna show you some screens from the hospital system, just to fill you in the mood. Like this one. And guys, this is one of the most important screens in this. It's the list of patients that are currently staying in the department of the hospital. So one row is one patient. You can see here some information about the patient itself, links, zooming on the links itself. And here and there, it's not even all of them. You can always click hide show button to find even more links. And they are not structured in any way. So let's move to another screen. We have tables and we have even colors in the system, so some possibilities. Even bigger tables with even more colors and even more inputs, some mystery buttons with stars put there. Yeah. So that's the point that what we started. After a brief introduction to the system and how does it work, we said that we need to talk to these guys, to doctors, to nurses that works into hospitals working with the system to like feel their context and get their job better, how they're operating in the hospital and how they work with the software itself. And I've talked to 3 doctors and 3 nurses, and you know it's a small group, but it's always better than nothing. We started with nothing, so when this company agreed to perform these interviews, I was more than happy. And I've asked them what is important for them in this software, or how should like the perfect software for clinicians. And they said that it should be displaying as much data as possible, so it will be probably the only one point that this whole software fits in, but displaying large amount of data in any way is not exactly that they wanted. They should be structured somehow. They've always mentioning about providing different paths to different places in the system, so they don't have to click many times. They've mentioned functionalities that are related to the current context, the current patient, and the current situation, the current context. So, as we imagine, the old software does not support any of these things, and these are like the main ones, the main which occur the most often in this interviews. Also, the most interesting fact was that when I talked to these 6 people, every one of them had like the less favorite screen from the application. So when I talked to them for an hour and a half, the 1 hour of this discussion focused on the screen that I hated the most, and each of this person named different screens. And I've also talked to 2 customer service specialists. So these are people who are working in the hospital and they are employees of the software company. So they are maintaining the software in the hospital. And I was like skeptical on the beginning to talking to them. So I was like, why I should to talk to them? I want to talk to doctors, nurses. Why talk with these guys? But these 2 gentlemen occurred to be very helpful with understanding how harsh is the reality of hospital information system designs and how they are maintained. And they've told me some incredible, unbelievable stories about maintaining software on the site. So they told me that There is no hospital working the same way. There is no department, even in the very one hospital which is working the same way, and there is no doctor working the same way. So every hospital, every department, every clinician has its own habits, own procedures which are developed year by year, and they are like a living tissue of the hospital or department and so on. So from the beginning of this project, I knew that it will be a great challenge from design perspective, how to design something that is customizable and robust at the same time, how to cope with similarity, which will be developed in other hospitals and between the software that could be maintained easily in the future, and provide individuality to these single instances, so the system could be as much useful for them as possible. When I've asked them who co-creates the software, who is taking place in the development process when they are creating or adopting the system in the hospital, they say that not nurses and not doctors. The people who are involved in, we should probably say, semi-design process, are unit managers and coordinators, like this. Doctors who are more managing or not treating people, and they help them with this design or gathering requirements only if they have time for a meeting. And as you can imagine, they usually don't have time for the meeting. So, in fact, there is no clinicians involved in the process. And these are the quotes that these two guys said to me. So, no users involved. No users involved. They've also told me a shocking story about implementation of changes. How does it look like? And they've told a story about one doctor that came to them, and he was like shouting because he can't read the font on the screen. The font size was too small for him. And because he was aggressive, they changed the font size to the bigger one. Because they don't have, in fact, any other way to please their clients, which is short hospitals, so they changed it. And the next day, the nurses, like whole department came to this guy, also shouting that what they do to the system, they can't read anything on the screen, they can't see patient data because the interface was like, spread it across the whole screen because they changed the font and it changed in some other places. So the implementation of changes is completely out of control, and they are requesting or fulfilling requests from the staff, like on the fly. And it's the last shocking story from talking to them. Please imagine a situation in which you are a nurse and you are coming to a hospital. You need to take drugs to patients, perform some tests. And you're starting your working day and you're opening the computer and there is a whole new system loaded there. And for sure, all people working in the hospital know that there will be a new system developed and it will be running from some starting day. But these people in hospitals, they don't have time for attend to trainings, or somehow they find it useless for them. So there is a lot of situations that happen in such a manner that everyone wakes up after the software is developed and it's running live. And then all these people, all clinicians are going to the software house yelling that this is not a system that they've dreamed of and so on. But the process, as you can see, it's pretty faulty. Let's move on to the design process and tools. I will not talk about double diamond and user-centered design. I will just mention some specific tools that I've used during the project. So customer journey / patient journey in this case. I was doing it on the beginning of the project. I need to understand the hospital and also the current software, how the flows look like. And I started mapping the system by looking at the perspective from the patient and also from the clinicians itself. I've mapped the steps that are nurses doing, then the doctors are doing, and so on, from the moment that patient comes to the hospital and then leaves. And it was total disaster, because this, what you are seeing here, is like 20% of this customer journey. It was very long, very detailed, and even after simplification, it didn't give me any insight into this what's going on. The only insight I've taken from me from doing this exercise was that the process is so complicated and so unpredictable that customer journey which is a tool for mapping linear projects and linear systems, is completely not usable here. So I've wasted a lot of time to mapping it, and the only thing I knew that the customer journey is not a good fit for this task. So this was like bad example, like the tool that is not working properly. And I have the tool that worked for me in this project, and it is a tool maybe more connected to the database design. I didn't see any designers doing that, and it's called domain model. And it's about mapping objects in the system, mapping its properties, its features, its states, and also then the connections between objects that are performing in the system. So this is the domain model map that I've created with software guys. And inside the rectangle, we have like the most basic objects, like the medical stuff, which are then detailed on the next level of this post-it. And the final result of mapping this, it's almost, we've ended the workshops in the same manner it looks like here. So there is no time needed for me to clean up this, to process the audience information. It was ready from the start for me to start working on something. And it explained the software for me much better than the customer journey map. For example, I knew that if we want to place some information about the patient, this is a scope of information that I'm going to place it. And I knew what are they going to do. It also showed me that these lines between elements that every action performed on the patients came from the medical staff personnel. There is no decisions, no orders made from the system itself. It's not autonomous. There is always a living person taking decision. So it was very informative. And for sure, benchmark, the favorite tool of every designers who love to browse things, look for inspiration, how other people manage to deal with some similar problems. And as you can imagine, getting screens from closed systems is not so easy task. But you know, this medical software company, they new people around, so we get some screens. But take a look. Let's take a look at the screens itself. This is one software. Also the similar one. The next one. Here we can see maybe it's built on material design. So probably it was designed by someone, not just created. The next one. The CGM clinic is, I think it's from Germany, so it is, I think, one of the best ones included. So good job, guys. The next one and the next one. Windows Ribbon from Windows Vista, welcoming 2023. So there were no standards in hospital information system. The one thing that was maybe similar across the benchmark I did, it is that about the information about the patients. So I found that at least they are presented in form of a bar, but even not always it's case of the bar. And if you look on the information displayed about the patients, it's completely different. It was about individual thing of the system. So benchmark could be useful, but I needed to look into other domains because my the home domain didn't give me any useful information. So I've looked through UIs, complex UIs, for example, in games like Civilization 6, and I've taken some inspiration from these interfaces. And after speaking with clinicians, after mapping all those things, trying to be a part of the hospital, the best way I could try to do it, not being there on the place, and despite the fact we've tried to, just to sit under, like behind the desk of the doctor to see how they are performing and operating with patients, we were able to create some main design principles that are guiding us through the designing next screens. I would like to share with you with this main design principles because I think it's one of the most important things in this project that I've created. So the first one, that interface states that interface should support multiple workflows, and it's connected with this thing, which I said before, that every clinician specialty is different, every department is different, and we should create interface that is supporting multiple workflows so the users can navigate in their preferred manner. The second one, system should be smart and help clinicians with suggestion of possible actions. And I think it is obvious in some mobile applications that we are suggesting links to the users. We are creating buttons that are relevant in the specific case. In this situation, we are not that yet, not that far, but we are trying to do like creating list of favorite links for users that they can mark their own favorite links. I think the smart part or this system, including some machine learning or AI tools, it's far future from now. The third one, everything should be accessible from everywhere. From everywhere, it is connected to the first one, and it's mainly about displaying main navigation, global navigation in all screens. Because in the previous system, in the current version, like you dive into one click from the main screen and you are lost. You don't know where you are. You can't jump to other part of the system. So it's about keeping in mind that navigation should be always visible. Doesn't matter how deep you are in the system. The fourth one, reducing data. Reducing data, and this is a small difference. The link on the right side is without this add word, because it was mentioned by Vitaly before, this system are data heavy and a lot of pixels is being displayed here. So if I have possibility to reduce something without compromising usability, I'm doing it. So I believe this plus means add. And I knew that after the trainings, a little bit of the training, the users will know that this add new order. So I maybe don't need to place this word here. And the last one, building product predictability by using coherent visual patterns. And for me, and for the hardest one in this project, because we are developing new screens and new use cases came to life. And we need to move back and forth to iterating through the components like this information bar. I would like to have an information bar which is consistent across the whole system and is always displaying the same data, so the users will instantly know where to look, like for information about patients being allergic to something. And why this is such an important thing? Because if we build predictable patterns, we can reduce cognitive load on the side of the users, and then can focus more on the patients, not focusing on the software, which is just a software. It shouldn't be a problem for them and shouldn't bother them. And these main principles led me to the data actions paradigm, which is visible on almost all screens which are designed in the system right now. And it is about parallel access to data and actions in the same time. So we stated that the doctor or nurse should always have the data about the visible data of the patient and also the actions of which are available. And these are very early sketches from the beginning of the project, and sketches as a tool are always useful, the most useful tool from every other that I've used. And we were able to consult this approach very early on with doctors and to check even if does it have any sense just by showing this kind of drawings. And I would like to show you some final design from this screen, from this part of the system, just to demonstrate how this data actions paradigm works in principles. And what is important that this system is work in progress. We are, after these 2 years of work, we are maybe on the 30% development of the whole. So we are working on it. So again, I will be presenting to you the list of current states. So the screen that we saw on the beginning. So we have patients that are staying in the hospital, in the given department. This is the very early sketch of the screen, and here's the final. It's the UI that is being in development right now, and it's a movie. So I would like to display it because it's prototype. And here we can see the mouse cursor opening the form, which is individually pinned to the right side of the system, and the center. Sorry, I would like to pause this and not display that slide. So we have user clicking on the right side. The right side is stick to the button. The user can perform the actions here, while in the same time browse through the patient's information, like drugs that have been taken, the test result, and so on. And as you've seen before, in the second ago, the user decided to focus more on the patient. So we can hide the list of other patients just to make more space to work with the specific case. And if you would like to jump quickly to the other patient, you don't have to click on this button. You can only like hover your mouse to the left side of the screen, and this will slide off as an additional layer, as the additional layer, and it will not squeeze the screen itself. So you can jump to another patient and stay on this form that you previously selected, because we've learned that a very big amount of clinicians would like to do the same, just one operation on the multiple patients in the same time. So they can jump between patients with opening the form only once. And now it's the slide which I plan to say. We tested it with users, with a group of 10 users, and it was the first milestone in this project for us, because we get some confirmation that these main design principles are working okay. The users that we invited to perform some usability tests were able to select patients, perform some actions, switch between data about patients without any training. And the standard in hospital information systems that is personnel is always trained before they're using them. And we got confirmation that the people that we've asked to do some tests are understanding what is going on the screen. So it was a big relief for me that they understand the software itself. And there is a lot of going on in the system. And the funny story is that I've, on the beginning, I think that I thought screen that we've seen a minute before was the hardest one to design, because the software company always were saying this is the most important screen in the hospital. And I was okay. So it was the hardest part of the project. Now we'll be going okay. And then we started working on orders management, in which doctors are ordering drugs and tests on patients. And this is a wireframe with some prototypes. It's also the movie. And probably I would need like an hour to tell you about the screen in detail, what's going on here. But as you can see, there's a lot of data, even more than in the screen before. A lot of interactions, like hovering, single row operation, some actions that are connected to the whole day, to the drug management, and some more actions hidden in some other places. So it's a lot of stuff going on, and we are trying our best to simplify some actions and reduce those clicks. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned after months and months after being in this project, that this interface will not kill anyone, which slightly worried me after Avi's morning talk. I'm stressed again that maybe this wrongly pressed button will kill somebody. But at the beginning, I was very stressed because I was worried that the doctor will misclick on a button and then somebody will die because of my interface. But thankfully, it appeared not to be true. Maybe when something very bad happened, I don't know. I need to rethink about this. But there's always a trained person in the end, so I think the patients are safe. Of course, I will be trying not to design interface that is killing people, but no, that was a hell of a burden that I could slide away. So what's next for us in this project? One of the main goals for me, of course, is to test screens that we've designed and test on the running software, which will be not perfect since day one, but the clinicians said that there is no point in testing it on the prototypes, even more advanced ones. They need to perform operation in the system, having the real patients. So this is the first thing on the to-do list for us. But we need to complete some parts of the system to be fully functional from the patients. From the design perspective, aiming to add more functionalities and more power to the power users, because every user in this case is a power user. They are dealing with the software several hours a day, so they exactly know how this works. This is not a case of mobile banking app in which you are logging one time in a day to check your balance and maybe check some transactions history. And trying to visualize it, I think that we are somewhere here between these two bottom rows. I think this software is understandable for users because we've checked it so far, and it's doing pretty okay. I believe it could be useful, but I'm aiming to make it really helpful. And what does it mean? It means that it will be not only usable and useful, but it should be almost invisible to clinicians. So I'm aiming to add some additional features like hidden under right mouse button. This is also a realization in practice of one of these design principles. So we are working on that. Also the keyboard shortcuts, so the clinicians could, just quickly run through the screens and fulfill some forms and so on. This is very important. And what is interesting, the oldest systems, even from this benchmark, all of them were packed with keyboard shortcuts, and the newer ones are not. And recently, I was in the clinics with just a regular appointment, and I saw the doctor. He don't even touch a mouse single time. he done everything on keyboard. He was like tapping buttons like crazy. So for sure it will be helpful to add this additional layer. But I'm on the level of concept here for now, and I think it will be responsible and to develop these things only after observing the users, how they're going on with current version of the software, because it requires development of internal and coherent language of interaction, which, you know, we need some coverage of the system to build something like this. And also it is very hard to benchmark. I don't know if it's even possible to benchmark such complex things. So next steps, fine-tuning the interface to sum up of this section. Of course, usability tests, multiple usability tests, and I hope that we will be able to visit a hospital and to see on our own eyes how these guys are using it. It will be the best day of my life in job, I think. So, looking for an answer, can a hospital interface be cured? I think yes, it can be cured, but there's no interface that will fix flawed processes. So firstly, we need to fix the development process, the gathering requirement phase to design interfaces. Because designing interface will be easy. Also, Vitaly said about this. We knew how to make buttons, right? It's just button. We know human-computer interactions principles. We are human, we are not changing that fast. So the HCY principles get obsolete. So we need to work on that. And thank you guys. That's all.
You can just pass it out, yeah. Oh, you go ahead. Thank you very much. That was very insightful. I was curious about your object modeling process, whether you had to cater to various roles for positions, and how did you deal with that? Did you separate them into separate objects, or did you have a single object for healthcare professionals and
Yes, it was single object as a medical staff, and they were divided to single entities, and it occurred that they have the same metadata, so they can stay like this.
And then with roles and permissions, did you work with the development team? Like, was that a thing? Mm-hmm. Where some doctors could see some things and others could not?
Yes, it's the case here also, but we didn't map the permission itself. We were focused about the data that are displayed on the interfaces and the state of the system. So if someone could, we only map that there is a possibility that some users are permitted to access some part of the system and some not.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your presentation. I think it's very complex challenge that you're trying to solve. Right? I was wondering, I'm not sure if I followed correctly, but is your new design already deployed in the hospital?
It's very close to being deployed. I think it will be running in 1 month, and it will be a hybrid of the new system, and a lot of screens will be accessible to the redirect you to the old system to provide full functionality.
Yeah, because then I'm very curious, like, how are you going to approach deployment with this type of software replacement, right? Because it impacts the whole hospital, which actually needs it 24/7 to run. So how do you approach this? Because you cannot just pause it for a bit and test it for a week, right? Curious.
Yeah, I'm also curious about it. I don't know. We will see it. We'll see how the software company will go with this. Probably, if there will be a space, we will help them with that case. But we will see. Frankly, I would love to see some service design being performed on the process of developing a new software and introducing them for the hospital, because for sure it's a process, right? But I don't know. thankfully it's not a problem.
Often you roll out in parts, right? You roll out maybe to one province or one hospital or one department, then you compare.
No,
You cannot just go into one department in this case, right? You change the
you need
rules.
several servers.
It will be interesting.
I think it's more of fear factor. Someone online wants to know, is it public or private clinics?
It's mainly developed for public hospitals, but private hospitals could also buy this software.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let me give you a huge round of applause.